Welcome dear students, welcome to another lecture by Metflick, and today's lecture is about incubation period. So how do you define incubation period? Incubation period or IP is defined as the interval of time elapsed between the entry of a pathogen. It can be also chemical or radiation in the body of the host till the appearance of first clinical sign or symptom of the disease. So sometimes we also call incubation period as intrinsic incubation period. So you shouldn't get confused between the two terms. Later on we will come to know what is the difference between intrinsic incubation period and extrinsic incubation period. So now let's find out what events take place during the incubation period. What happens first is the pathogen will enter the human body or any host. So in our case we will take human body. Then the pathogen will circulate and reach the target organ. Target organ may be anything, maybe lungs in case of pneumonia, or maybe the liver in case of malaria. So it will lodge in itself in the target organ, and then it will keep on multiplying. It will multiply and reach a level which is optimum for it to now spread the infection. So it will overcome the body's defense mechanism. After it does so, it will manifest the clinical signs and symptoms of the disease. This is the point where we become aware that the person is diseased. Before this, we won't see any sign and symptom, and we won't know that the person is diseased. So this whole time from the host entering the body till the manifestation of clinical symptoms is called the incubation period. Once again, just for revision, let's learn about the factors influencing the incubation period, that is how long or short the incubation period is. First is entry load of the pathogen, that is how much pathogen has entered the human body. So the more the load of the disease causing agent or the pathogen or the microbe, the more short the incubation period will be, that is it is directly proportional. Second is route of inoculation, that is through which route the disease causing agent has entered the human body. So some routes are more effective than the others. Third is rate of replication, or how speedily the infectious agent is multiplying in the human body. Fourth is virulence of the pathogen. So what is it? What does it mean, virulence? It is often confused with pathogenicity, but both are different, and you have to write the difference in the comment box. So virulence of a pathogen or microbe is its ability to infect or damage a host. Fifth is infective dose. It is often misused in place of entry load of the pathogen, but both are different, so you have to know the difference. Infective dose is the dose of microorganism or pathogen required to infect the host. Sixth is susceptibility of the individual, that is how likely an individual is to get the disease. As you might have already observed that all people's your friends or you or everyone in the community has different likelihood that he or she contracts a disease from the community. Seventh, but very important, is the immune response of the human body. So how strong or robust is the immune response of the host. Now what is variability in incubation period? Incubation period varies from disease to disease, and in the same disease, incubation period will vary from person to person depending upon the host agent relationship that we have already discussed in the previous slide. Now incubation period, because of these reasons, may vary from few hours to a few years, and in this table I have given examples of various diseases having short IP or a moderate IP or a long IP. So you can just go through the names. Communicability during the incubation period. What is communicability? It can be defined as the capacity of an infectious agent to spread to others. Infectious diseases may be communicable during the incubation period or may not be communicable during the IP. Examples of diseases that are communicable in the incubation period are chickenpox, diphtheria, hepatitis A, polio, amongst many others. Now, people who spread the disease to other people during incubation period itself are called incubatory carriers. That is, who is a carrier? A person who is not diseased himself, but he may transmit the disease to others because he is harboring the disease agent. So, a person harboring the disease agent during the incubation period and spreading the disease to others are called incubatory carriers. So, I will be uploading a lecture on carriers soon. So, we have been reading about incubation period because there are many uses of incubation period. Now, what are the uses? First is it helps in making diagnosis of a disease. Second is it helps to find out the individuals or the persons coming in contact with the infected person or the diseased person, and this is called tracing of the contacts. And why do we do that? Because we have to limit the infection by application of public health measures or various preventive measures. Next is quarantine if required. Now, what is quarantine? Quarantine is the restriction of freedom of movement of apparently healthy individuals who have been exposed to a disease or an infectious agent. Now, quarantine period should be as long as the longest incubation period of the disease. That is, for example, if a disease has the incubation period of 2 to 14 days, then the quarantine period will be for 14 days and not 2 days. Next is for immunization of at-risk people. So, in case of diseases that have long incubation period like rabies or tetanus, what we can do is we can give post-exposure prophylaxis and prevent the disease from occurring in that individual. So, now you have to tell me in the comment section what is the difference between quarantine and isolation. So, with this we have come to the end of the lecture, and I will be taking this topic in 2 parts. In the second part, I will be explaining about extrinsic IP and intrinsic IP amongst others. So, these are the references I have used, and hope you had a good time watching. Hope you understood the concepts well. Have a good day. Thank you.